civil engineer, Mr. Bob Hager, city attorney, Ms. Cameron McGee, board secretary.
And pizza.
All right, so, I'll let Matt go over item 6.
All right, yep, we go through the cases and we'll just give you a quick summary. So item number 6 is to consider approval of a plat for a batch plant. And it's a temporary batch plant, which is normally allowed by right. And so this is allowed by right for less than 6 months within a property that's zoned light industrial. But what they have to do is make sure the property's been platted before they get their permit. And so they're coming through the platting process. So when they submitted their plat, they are asking for 2 exceptions. One's to the public road frontage requirement, and the other's the extension of water service to their property. So that's the reason why I'm bringing it before the commission, because normally we'd sign off administratively on a minor plat. But because there's these 2 exceptions, requires your approval. So anyway, that is what it is. It's temporary. They do plan on bringing their own water to the site, you know, via truck, and then they'll put it in the tank and use it there and just do a temporary operation for less than 6 months.
Are there no restroom facilities then? It's just the plant?
Probably a porta potty.
Got it, okay.
Yep. And a temporary office. So we do plan on bringing forward a text amendment to the zoning ordinance, which would limit their temporary batch plant permit to once every 5 years for this property. So that'll be a forthcoming text amendment along with another one that we're bringing forward.
Is that a text amendment for
The overall zoning.
And that was denied for land use. This is strictly platting.
Right, so it's a special use permit before, and that was for 5 years, is what they wanted to do with that, and then a future land use plan amendment. So it's 2 parts to that request.
Okay.
Yep.
And there are exceptions on this?
There are exceptions. The public road frontage, typically you have, every lot in town has public road frontage, and that's to ensure they have access. Well, what they have is a 20-foot access easement through the adjacent properties, which leads to a public road, which is called Volley Drive, recently discovered street here in Coppell. So
Because
it
there's
is
the
a
rail
public,
line out front.
public street, yeah.
And what if the adjacent landowner took away that easement? They wouldn't have access. They cannot remove
Right.
that easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once it's filed with record, it's on the property, it's not.
Yeah, tied,
Yeah,
it's
you
tied.
George can't undo
you
it.
can abandon it, but
But
Yeah.
only the property owner can abandon it, not the one who granted it.
the benefit the state, not the
Right,
burden the state.
Thank you.
So
yeah.
that was for sale.
So they have noted also on the plat that a replat would be required when they do a permanent use on the property. So that would plat fire lanes, 24-foot fire lane on site, and then from this property to the public road as well. So that's for future, for when they do create a building site. This is just a temporary site.
Gotcha.
That concludes my pre-meeting presentation.
Has the applicant indicated that they intend only to do one?
I did tell them that might be a question that comes up tonight, and so they're ready to address it.
I think
Any
it's more
questions?
project specific.
Okay.
Because I think they're a contractor for I-35 improvements. That's why
Yeah.
this is a big deal for them,
Mhm.
because they have a contract, I think, with whoever that contractor is to split concrete.
Yeah, and I also think they already have a lease on this property.
Okay.
So,
Any questions by the
Don't
commission?
they own the property?
I
Last
think
time when they brought it through.
they've got a long,
They
contract.
bought it without platting it?
I think it's under,
I think
it's
they
con-
leased
they
it.
leased
with
it.
they've leased it, yeah.
I think Steve Kimbrell still owns it, I believe.
No, it's Haas, Jason Haas,
Oh, is it?
yeah.
Eddie's brother.
How's that spelled?
H-A-S.
H-A-S-S?
I think so.
No relation.
Ace, I don't know what it is.
Not
Anyway.
enough mouth.
Okay,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Procedurally, does this item go to city council, or is this one that doesn't go to city council?
Does
after
not.
Us?
Does not.
Does not. You guys are the final authority.
It's just a plat.
Yeah,
And it wouldn't have come before us if they didn't have the exceptions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to grant the exception. You've been given that responsibility from the council to waive those requirements.
Okay,
All right, so,
shops at Sandy Lake?
yes, item number 7. This is not deja vu. So, shops at Sandy Lake, they're proposing, essentially very similar in terms of 14,480 square foot building, one building. The uses have changed, so previously, back in April, they came forward with, retail, medical, and restaurant uses with a patio. They've removed the restaurant and the patio use, so it's just retail and medical. So what they're looking to do is, since that time, they've met with the residents or with their meetings. The building's moved up from the rear 30 feet, so they're providing about 30 feet of landscaping to the rear. So how that impacts the site is by pushing everything up about 10 feet or so, 5 or 10 feet, is that the front landscape strip, which is typically 15 feet, is now, runs from 9 to 15 feet, averages about 12 and a half. And then you've got the parking right behind it. So we think this still works, and I'll tell you why, is because there's the parkway out front that is fairly large. So in the grand scheme of things, it's gonna look like it's between 30 and 40 feet back from the road, actually. So that impacts not only the parking that's there, the landscape strip, but also the sign, because normally the sign has to be 10 feet off of the property line. This one's about 6 feet, but when you add in the parkway, you still have a fairly large buffer. If you move that sign 10 feet back, it's basically hidden behind the parking spaces, so you won't see it. So same as last time, 2 driveways on Sandy Lake, no connection to Arbor Manors Drive. The garbage cans are moved about 70 feet off of the back property line. What has some new information since that time, and since it went to council, we did form we hired a traffic engineer to look at, study the traffic in and around the Arbor Manor subdivision. So they looked at, do you wanna say a little bit about it? Cause it's kinda your thing, or you want me to just?
Sure, yeah, we, looked at the concerns the residents had brought up to us. We looked at the delays exiting the neighborhood. We looked at traffic signal warrants for Arbor Manors intersection of Arbor Manors and Sandy Lake Road, and also the intersection of Braywood and Denton Tap Road. Neither of those intersections meet signal warrants, either under existing conditions or under proposed conditions if this development were to go forward. We had them look at whether there was any evidence of cut-through traffic through the neighborhood, just because that was something the residents had mentioned. And based on their review of the trip counts and their field observations, they didn't see any evidence of cut-through traffic in the neighborhood. What else did we look at? It was a
Was there anything about that turn radius or that cross? Seemed like they were concerned about making a left-hand turn going eastbound right before Arbor Manor there at the break into Sprouts.
So Not with the traffic study, with this revised site plan, they did shift that driveway further to the west, so it is now away from,
Okay, it's
Yeah,
200
I
feet
brought-
west.
I brought the site plan from last time for my own edification, but if anyone wants to look at what they proposed last time versus
Oh,
what they
yeah.
did this time.
Let me see last time.
But
So they moved it 200 feet
Oh, yeah, they
west,
sure did.
and it's,
it doesn't, you cannot take a left out of there anymore.
so
Well,
you
it
can,
doesn't line up there,
Yes.
so.
No.
you
It's
have to
further
go
in the-
out
in
and
the
then go
median.
Yes.
around.
Further.
Yeah.
So you
Get
cannot
in
take
there.
a left, you have to take a right and then you make a U-turn to come
Right.
back.
Right.
or you can, they have a connection with the Verizon building next door.
That's
Yeah,
more
they have a shared
middle west
access.
that way.
Yeah, and they can make left turns through that driveway.
That's more middle west.
Yeah.
By Andy's.
Were the traffic counts taken before or after school was out?
It was in May, I believe. I'll scroll back to the front of the report. So I believe, because that was my thought, I was like, did we get that before school was out? And from what I recall, we did, but let me make sure.
And then you mentioned from our meeting earlier that there was a question about a fatality.
Yes, I know some of the residents have mentioned traffic safety, specifically fatalities. Our consultant pulled the crash records for the area from Whispering Hills, west of the site, to Denton Tap Road, and then from Sandy Lake down south to Bethel School Road. For the past 5 years, there's no fatalities within that range, no serious injuries. There are other fatalities that have happened in town, but they're farther away outside of the limit of the study area we looked at with this, not adjacent to this development. And I did just confirm that trip counts were taken Tuesday, May 12th of this year.
Okay.
When was the last day of school?
Weekly.
Okay, good. Okay. So, after the staff presentation, I'll probably just call you down and you can give the summary.
so there's still like a screening wall at the back separating the two properties. What else are we looking here? They're planting it, so with this, new layout, they're actually saving about 55 trees, planting another 31 trees, and then they're planning on planting 71 Nellie R. Stephen along the rear property line. So you're not only gonna have the trees, you'll have the Nellie R. Stevens and the screening wall within that 30-foot landscape buffer area.
Didn't he also have a parapet wall on the back of the top of the building to hide the HVAC? I can't recall.
Was this parapet in the front?
I know it was in the front, but I can't recall if there was one on the back.
They may have added, were willing to add one, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
Doesn't look
recall.
like it.
Doesn't look like it, no?
Yeah,
Maybe. Might be right.
but if you ask them, I'm sure that's something that they would definitely consider.
Okay.
So the building, nothing's changed from when you last looked at it, exact same look, same thing with the sign out front. So we did send out notices within the 200 feet and additional courtesy notices within 800 feet. So we got 10 written responses, 10 written responses in opposition within 200 feet, 1 written response in favor, and they were directly behind the property, so when you see the map, you'll see it. And of the courtesy notices, we received 2 written responses in opposition and 1 additional one that didn't have an address, so I couldn't tell if it was an 800 feet or more or less or whatever. So same opposition because of traffic, loss of the green space, quality of life, noise type of things. So we are recommending approval of this one with the following conditions. Detailed engineering review at the time of full engineering submittal, to allow the landscaping as shown on the plans, because that was a PD condition, to allow the monument sign to be constructed as shown. The downstream drainage analysis will need to be updated to address staff comments, and any other signage would need to meet city requirements. So with this one, staff will do a presentation The applicant also has a presentation that they want to give, and then some of the residents also have a presentation that will be that they'll walk you through. So we do have one resident that is gonna be here via Zoom, and so I think he's probably gonna do the presentation, either him and or some other people. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we'll have 3 presentations on that one.
But we'll do the staff presentation, questions of the staff by the commission, then open it to the applicant.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So is the easement, the cross-access easement shown, that's, is that a permanent easement? Because it has temporary, but is it only temporary for construction and maintenance?
Right.
Okay, but it's permanent for cross-access?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then item number 8 is essentially the replat, so companion item to the shops at Sandy Lake. Typical, it'll show the fire lanes, water easements, drainage, everything else that they need to do to build the building.
You wanna go over oh, sorry, any questions by the commission? Okay. You wanna go over items from city council?
Yeah,
Okay.
so, sorry, one more thing, apologize. So on your chairs over there, there's this, it's basically the responses that I was talking about for the case. I just made copies, so if you guys want to take a look through it, you can.
And the first one was the one, the resident in favor of the proposal.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Does he within the 200 feet or 800?
They are 200 feet, they back up to this property.
And when did this originally come in? First time?
The first one, it came to,
Like March,
March, April.
March, I think March.
March
with
P and
us,
Z,
then
April City Council.
Okay.
Refresh my memory on that memory, the city council denied. We
Correct.
approved it and they denied it.
Yes.
On what basis? Do you remember?
Some of the council members thought that we could have moved it forward a little bit. They thought that would be more of a buffer, like they have now. And they were concerned about the restaurant, now it's gone. So I think a lot of the council's concerns have been addressed. Now, I don't know what they'll do, but I remember those comments,
Yeah.
that those were.
So council was this last Tuesday. The only item that went from us was the ordinance for the St. Constantine School, which was approved.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
So we'll have somebody signed up for citizens appearance that might have a very unique opinion, if you've heard some of the social media. So we're gonna just give them the 3 minutes and move on with no reaction. We're just gonna move on.
He may try to.
We'll
make
try to bait
comments,
us.
Try to bait any individual by maybe commenting about your appearance or my appearance or someone to get someone to react to him.
So it's social clicks that he's after. I've seen him in other cities, and so, yeah.
He's been before the council before that. I think this is the first time he's visited us on Thursday.
Aren't we lucky?
I don't think we've had anybody speak for citizens appearance since we,
Been a long,
yeah,
that I can never
long
reach.
Yeah, and
I
it's
don't-
kind of, it's somewhat silly, because almost everything we do requires a public hearing anyhow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we certainly can't do anything about the tax rate or other things
Yeah.
that people generally have a grievance. So anyhow,
It's important to be heard.
yes, no matter where and,
Is he a citizen of Coppell?
no.
He is not. So if you saw the video from how we've used council, what, a month ago? 2 months
It's been-
ago?
It's been a while. We adopted some rules to govern behavior, and we haven't seen him since we've adopted those rules.
But that's
Do we
for
have those?
council.
Do we have those rules? Wait,
No, but we can make them, we could give you those rules.
Okay.
and you could adopt them, because you are supposed to adopt your own rules. and-
But I will read the the 3 minutes, and there's
Yeah.
something there in the last sentence there that says about decorum, something like that, so.
Yeah, hopefully our muscle will show up tonight. I'd ask, Mary and I asked that we have a police officer, because I don't want you guys getting involved. If he
There
starts,
was somebody outside.
if he's starting to misbehave, then Eddie can call on him and let the police officer handle
Good idea.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, with that, 6:22, I'll adjourn the work session. We'll wrap up for entertainment at 6:30. Okay, good evening. It is now 6:30 and the Planning and Zoning Commission is convening back into regular session. Our first order of business on the agenda, item 4, is citizens' appearance. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for any item, on any item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, I will move on the agenda to item 5. Item 5 is to consider approval of our minutes, the minutes of our May 21st meeting. Are there any comments by the commission, or is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the minutes of May 21st, 2026 Planning and Zoning meeting.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nays. I call your name. Vice Chair Blankenship.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Hafman.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. For those that are here, we do have one of our commission members that remote, so, and we also have someone signed up to speak remote also. So item 6 on the agenda is to consider approval of Ready Mix Edition Lot 1, Block A minor plat, to plat the property and associated easements with a variance to the required public street frontage and the required public utilities extended to the site on 4.47 acres of property located on the north side of East Beltline Road, north of the Dart right-of-way, approximately 1,200 feet west of the city limit line, at the request of Steve Magliescu. Okay, close. Of Estrada Ready Mix Concrete. We have a staff presentation by Mr. Matt Steer. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. This is a request to plat the property for the purpose of obtaining a building permit for a temporary batch plant to be in operation for less than 6 months. A temporary batch plant is allowed by right within the light industrial district, provided it's not in operation for greater than 180 days or 6 months. For reference, the one that was recently denied was for a batch plant that was greater than 6 months. They were actually asking for a 5-year batch plant. Because this is for a temporary use, a site plan and replat will be required for a permanent use when a permanent use is applied for. At that time, a 24-foot fire lane and mutual access easement and a water line easement will be required for accessing utilities, respectively. The applicant has noted this on the plat. The current easements are on the site are a 20-foot ingress and egress easement that leads from Volley Drive to the site. There's a 40-foot Lone Star and gas easement and a 20-foot TRA easement. Staff is recommending approval of the minor plat with the exception to the public road frontage requirement and the utility extension requirement. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Matt. Any questions of staff by the commission? Okay, is the applicant here to present the case?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Phil Flink, 650 Skyline, Hutchins, Texas.
And Steve McGlisco, 928 Falcon Lane, Coppell.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to the presentation?
Just here to answer any questions. We've been before you, in front of you before, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah. So with this temporary permit, you're going to be wrapping up operations in 6 months?
Correct.
What does that whole shutdown process look like? Right, at 6 months, your startup and
So I guess to give you a little more detail, the current project that we have in mind for the use of the plant has a 6-month time frame based off actual working days that we've done this project for 2 consecutive years. We've hit our numbers, dates for the last 2 years. Based off current projections, last month was our first month operating the project. We're right on where we need to be. So shutdown of the project would simply be we move towards I'll call it the sunset portion of the project towards the 6 months. We can literally shut down in 2 days.
Yeah.
Operations.
In restoration, I understand the requirements are restoration of the property to its
Right.
original
Part
state?
of the permit requirements will be expiration date of 6 months and then a reclamation date 30 days after that 6 months to restore the site to the previous conditions.
And for the record, we have a 10-year long-term lease on the property, so it's in our best interest to put it back in the original condition for our own benefit.
And it's your intent really for just one and done, just 6 months?
For this project, yes. Now, to be clear, if the city of Coppell would have a project come online that would require a plant, we would consider it, but I mean, this is for this project.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant by the commission? Any final comments, staff?
Just for a heads up, we do plan on bringing forward a text amendment to the ordinance that would allow for one batch plant every 5 years, one temporary batch plant every 5 years.
Okay. Matt, would it be, as part of this application, would it be appropriate to add an action plan for, okay,
No, this is just a plat,
Okay.
so it's not a zoning action.
okay, very good.
Matt, in terms of the text amendment, would that apply, and since you're doing that after, would that apply to this?
Yes,
Well-
sir. Yes, so all zoning would apply to this property.
It won't apply to their 6 months, but at the end of the 6 months.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. Best of luck in the operation there and for the temporary permit.
Appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Okay. Any final discussion or motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Ready Mix Edition Lot 1, Block A, minor plat.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Moore.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Commissioner Hafman. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or ayes. I call your name. Vice Chair Blankenship.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Hafman.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item 7 on the agenda is a public hearing. This is to consider approval of PD-214R11-C, the shops at Sandy Lake, a zoning change request from Plan Development Number 214R2-C to PD-214R11-C to allow a detailed plan development of a 14,480 square foot commercial center with retail and medical uses on approximately 2.03 acres of property located at the south side of Sandy Lake Road, approximately 560 feet west of Denton Tap Road, at the request of Peak Coppell LLC, in being represented by D.R. Rankin. We have a staff presentation by Ms. Mary Perone Boswell. Mary?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. So this property was, excuse me, was originally part of a larger 29-acre tract development that included residential, the development of Arbor Manors, and additional commercial properties both along Denton Tap and Sandy Lake Roads. The original zoning for the overall development was approved in 2007, with subsequent rezonings occurring with each new detailed site plan for the commercial sites. This represents the final commercial piece to be developed. A planned development for this site, which included retail, medical, and restaurant uses with a patio area, was denied in April of 2026. So what you see here up on the screen is part of, on the left is part of the original PD, and on the right is what they're currently proposing. So I'm going to kind of go through the differences and what's changed from the original PD. So the original PD shows 2 buildings out front adjacent to Sandy Lake versus the current proposal with 1 building at the rear of the site. The original PD shows parking at the rear of the property versus the current proposal has the majority of parking out front with some at the sides. The original PD shows 2 driveway entrances off of Sandy Lake at the western edge and a shared driveway out to Arbor Manors Drive. The current proposal also has 2 driveways along Sandy Lake, one shared with the Verizon lot on the western edge of the property, and the second is approximately 200 feet west from the Arbor Manors Drive and just west of the turn lane within the median of Sandy Lake Road. There is no shared driveway connection to the residential via Arbor Manors Drive. So the site is currently vacant, and the site plan shows a proposed 14,480 square foot building that will contain a mix of retail and medical uses, accessed by 2 driveways along Sandy Lake Road. There are 2 trash receptacles proposed on the western portion of the site, situated approximately 70 feet away from the residences. There's an existing 6-foot in height brick screening wall between the property and the residential development to the south. So with this proposal, the building is set back 30 feet from the rear property line, allowing for an extended rear landscape buffer, 30 feet in lieu of the 10-foot that is really only required. Based on feedback from the residents, the developer increased the rear yard landscape buffer and building setback. Where typically the building setback is 20 feet, now the building's 30 feet off of the rear setback. In the time since the previous submittal was made for this property, the city engaged a traffic engineering consultant to study the traffic in and around the Arbor Manor subdivision per council direction and in response to residents' concerns regarding traffic conditions in the neighborhood. In particular, the study examined delays exiting the neighborhood, potential cut-through traffic through the neighborhood, and the impact of potential development of the vacant Arbor Manors commercial property. The study did not find evidence of cut-through traffic using the neighborhood streets to bypass the intersection of Sandy Lake Road and Denton Tap Road, and the study did not recommend installing a traffic signal at the intersection of Denton Tap and Braywood Drive. Phase 2 of the study, looking at a warrant analysis for the intersection of Arbor Manors Drive and Sandy Lake Road and the impact of potential development was not finalized at the time of staff report writing. I believe later Mr. Colbaker will be giving us an update on that study. So here we're looking at the landscape plan. Based on the feedback from the residents, the developer increased the rear yard landscape buffer and building setback. In order to accommodate this increased landscape at the rear and maintain the parking count, there is a proposed PD condition to allow the front yard landscape as shown. This ranges from 9 feet to 15 feet and averages approximately 12.5 feet in depth, with parking abutting it versus the required 15 feet. The parkway along Sandy Lake Boulevard is approximately 24 feet in depth, so the landscaping out front will be approximately 30 to 43 feet when you include the parkway, so staff has no objection to this request. Again, there is an enhanced landscape buffer at the rear of the site where normally only 10 feet is required. The developer is proposing more, with the building being 30 feet from the southern perimeter. The eastern perimeter will see a large number of trees being preserved. Additional trees along the southern perimeter will also be preserved. In total, we have 55 existing trees that will be saved on site, an additional 31 overstory trees to be planted on site. Then if you look to the rear of the property, 71 Nellie R. Stevens will be planted to provide additional screening along the southern perimeter. So here we're looking at the, at the building elevations. Building height is just under 19 feet with a parapet wall at the front varying in height from approximately 20 to 25 feet, creating some articulation. The trash enclosures material will match the building material as well. So the building will be a combination of brick, aluminum storefront with a dark bronze metal fascia and trim. The lower part of the building contains a light colored brick and darker colored brick above the water table. There is no drive-through proposed. A monument sign is proposed along Sandy Lake Road. The sign will use the same darker brick as the building and be 6 feet in height, 6 feet in width with external illumination. So the monument sign along Sandy Lake Road will be approximately 6 feet instead of 10 feet from the property line in order to not be covered up from the parking spaces. And this is all due to the reduced landscape along the front. However, because of the parkway, which is 24 feet in depth, the sign will be at least 30 feet from the road. So staff has no objection to this request either. There is no other signage presented for the building. Any proposed signage will need to comply with city requirements. So because this is a planned development, we did send out notices, 26 within 200 feet, an additional 115 within 800 feet. And we did receive 10 written responses in opposition within the 200 feet. We did receive one written response in favor of the request within the 200 feet. So the red outlines the opposition and the green outlines those in favor. Of the 115 courtesy notices, we received 2 written responses in opposition. We received one other written response that we couldn't tell where they were located because there was no address on the form that we received. So staff is recommending approval of PD 214 R11-C, subject to the following conditions. 1, the detailed engineering review will occur at the time of full engineering submittal. 2, to allow for the landscaping as shown on the plans. 3, to allow for the monument sign to be constructed as shown on the plans. 4, that the downstream drainage analysis will need to be updated to address staff concerns, or comments rather. And 5, that all other signage will meet city requirements. So that is the end of my formal presentation. I think Mr. Cole Baker is available if you have questions about the traffic.
Okay, very good, thank you. Cole, if you could come down to provide a summary of the analysis, as well as if you're satisfied with the results of the analysis.
Sure, yeah. So we, at the commission and council's direction, we commissioned a traffic study by one of our traffic engineering consultants. They looked at the traffic in and around the neighborhood and some of the concerns that were raised by the residents, as well as they looked at what and the impact of a potential development at this location was. So one of the concerns that was raised was cut-through traffic through the neighborhood. The consultant looked at this and they didn't find any evidence of significant cut-through traffic. One of the other things they looked at the crash history for the area surrounding the Arbor Manors development, and in the past 5 years there have been no fatal or serious injury crashes within the vicinity of the neighborhood. They looked from Whispering Hills to Denton Tap Road, and then from Sandy Lake Road down to Bethel School Road. And so they looked at those traffic numbers. They also looked at the intersections of Braywood and Denton Tap and of Arbor Manors Drive and Sandy Lake Road, and they They found that under existing and proposed conditions, neither of those intersections meets the traffic signal warrants that would be required to be met to install a traffic signal at either of those intersections. And then they looked at the impact of a potential development at this site. There would be some increase in delays in the adjacent intersections. The most significant delays of the Arbor Manors Drive northbound traffic was due to their assumption that some traffic from the neighborhood would probably want to use this development. So that's where most of the delays were coming from when they were studying that. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Sure. And the analysis was base plus site?
Yes.
Base plus site, okay. And then the crash data that they reviewed was from the text.chris data?
Yes.
The public data? Okay. Questions?
And the traffic counts were taken when?
Beginning of May,
Which is before or after school?
before school was out, yes.
Perfect.
So
Thank
during
you.
session, okay.
During session, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Baker while he's here?
And then was the delay in traffic going north, was that taking into account the current site plan and without an access way off of?
Yes, so it was assuming there wouldn't be direct access onto Arbor Manors Drive. They actually, we had initially sent them the original site plan that had more intense use, and so this was actually a more conservative analysis than what is now before the commission. But yes, that it is the same proposal with the driveway going onto Sandy Lake Road instead of directly onto Arbor Manors.
Okay, great.
And then,
Regarding the tax accident data, is it possible that there would be an accident, or could have been an accident and it not reported in the data?
This is the state database where any
It's
of
the state, you said?
yes, where any of the accidents, if you look at the database, there's a number of accidents around town that get submitted to the area. There have been accidents in the vicinity of this project. None of them were, they were all no injury, suspected injury, suspected minor injury. None of them were major or fatal for
So how
the
does that
vicinity.
actually work? A policeman shows up if there's a major accident, presumably.
I'm not a policeman, so I don't know.
You don't know.
But that's,
We have a
we've got a
couple here.
couple
We
here
might ask
that
them.
might be able to speak better to that. But
If they're called and dispatched, then it produces an incident or accident report, and that's for reporting purposes. It goes to the state and it gets in the state database. And then, so if we have a serious accident where police department gets dispatched and our EMS gets dispatched, it's going to get reported because they have to fill out those reports. And then that forms the basis of what was referred to by Cole and by Mr. Haas.
Okay. And then the final question I have is the trip generation in the analysis, that was of shopping centers less than 40,000 square feet?
yes.
Okay, so that has a higher trip generation rate than the 720. Okay, very good. Any other questions of Mr. Baker? Okay. Thank you very much, Cole.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions of Mary and the overall application to staff?
Yes, Mary, in terms of the downstream drainage analysis, can you talk more about what the concern is around that?
Mr. Baker would be happy to answer that question.
Oh, okay.
We had some minor comments for the applicant. Honestly, we haven't revisited that since their initial application. We don't have concerns that it will be able to be resolved. It's just something that we would look at during detailed engineering review.
Okay.
That's where we typically look at all the details of detailed engineering design, so.
Got it. Great. Yeah, that's what I assumed. I was just interested why it was called out.
Yep. We want to keep track of it, so that's, better safe than sorry.
For sure.
Yep.
Sounds good.
And final question for me, Mary, regarding this updated site development plan. It considers some of the comments from the previous one, so it's better than the previous application?
It definitely addressed some of the residents' concerns regarding landscaping, access, moving the driveway further west, creating a greater landscape buffer, preserving more trees. It removed the restaurant use, which they seem to have an issue with, and the patio. So I think a lot of their issues have been addressed with this proposal.
Okay, very good. Any final questions of staff by the commission? Okay. Is the applicant here to present the case? If we could get your name and address for the record.
Tyler Alley, 952 Bastis Place, Dallas, Texas. And I've got some slides to help guide this. I don't know if you have them or not, but. Perfect. Awesome. Next, okay, got it. So we're Rose City Partners. We're retail developers here in DFW. We work on a lot of projects like this throughout DFW. We're often next to residents, and so we are often dealing with concerns like this. So what I'm going to present today is kind of just an overview of where we are today compared to our last site plan, how we incorporated some of the feedback into it, and yeah. So if you go to the next slide. So these are the projects. This is just the type of projects we do. They're your normal retail centers, all masonry, structural steel, storefront glass. So we try to use the highest end materials we can. Next slide. I'm sure you guys all know the location at this point. We can go next, Mary. So this is our current site plan. We've had a lot of adjustments to this over time. I'm going to try to catch some of the major stuff as we go through it. But basically what happened is last time we were going through the process, we had the P&Z meeting, and so we got a lot of feedback at that point. We incorporated it, and then we went to City Council. At City Council, the first time we were there, it got tabled. And then we met with the residents to go over the site plan and get their concerns and try to address some of them. We addressed some of them, not all of them. And then it failed at City Council, but we were able to address more of the concerns. Part of the problem last time is when between the time we met with the residents and the final City Council meeting, there was only like 4 days, and so we couldn't actually update our site plan. If you go to the next slide, so the things that we did at the very beginning was we got access to the west there, so that would be the main. To the meeting will be the main access point for the project, and we didn't connect to Arbor Manors. If you look at the original concept plan from the PD, it had them connecting directly to Arbor Manor Drive, but now we have it. But we were able to position the project without that. Next slide. And so this is the current landscape plan. You can go to the next slide. So in the back of the property, there's 0 trees that are required. We have 71 trees on the back of the property up against the wall there. And we discussed many different types of, part of the feedback was what type of tree to put there. And so we're flexible on that in order to meet the neighbors' needs. But the 71 trees are not required by code, but those are part of what we've done to help make this more acceptable to the neighbors. Next slide. And then this has kind of grown over time, but every iteration of this, we've been able to save more trees. So now we're at 50 plus. I think it's like 55, but I didn't want to miscount, so I just said 50 plus. And part of the reason that we are at 50 plus now is that we were able to, and again, this is one of the neighbors' requests, we were able to push the building not to the front where it's flipped and the road's on the back, but we push it forward. And so instead of having a 20-foot buffer, we have a 30-foot buffer, and that allows us to save more trees in the back. The problem with that, the problem is in order to do that, we had to minimize the landscape area up front, which is why the variance is required. So the variance is the purpose of the variance, even though it's in the front of the property, is actually to support the back of the property, to allow us to move that building as far away from the residents as possible. Keep going to the next slide, please. So yeah, so we met with so April 26th was when we had like the meeting in person with 10 of the residents. So they gave me a list of items then. I will say that they, at the time, they were just trying to, they didn't know that they could be fully against the project, so they were giving me a list of what would make the project ideal for them. Today I'm sure what they'll say is that they don't want it at all, and so just even with the list, which I think is a fair opinion, but I'm still using their list just because it's easier to go based off that. Next slide, please. So these were the 10 requests at the time: increased setback, building placement, building permit. I'm gonna go through all of these and just say where we were previously, what the residents want, and where we are today. So go next slide. So increased setback, so we were previously at 20 feet. They asked for 40. 30 is the best that we could do. With the, I mean, like, at some point, the turn radiuses for fire just don't work. But this was the best that we could push the building forward. It helps that outside our property line, there's additional landscaping outside the property line, so it won't feel like there's less buffer than normal. Up front, it's just because we have all that right-of-way landscaping. So we're at next one. This is kind of the same thing. They just wanted to move building more towards the front, and so this is we were at 20. They asked for 40. We got to 30 was the most we could get to for fire purposes. Next slide. Reduced building permit. This is the one thing that we just couldn't do because it just economically would make the project unviable. Next slide. So this, previously, we were asking for restaurants, and that was like a rezoning for restaurants. We are no longer asking for restaurants. I think that's probably the key difference, and I think was one of the major concerns of the residents. So we're at 0 restaurants. We have this as retail and medical now, and so like we envision it to be dentist, fitness places, nail salons, things like that. But no restaurants brings later hours and smells and things like that. So I think that was the primary concern of that. Plus obviously more traffic. Now because of the so we won't have any restaurants. So that was one of the bigger changes from the last time I went to City Council. Next slide. With no restaurants comes no patios. So those two go hand in hand. No drive-throughs. We never had drive-throughs, and with this site plan, you'll never have a drive-through. So that we've learned drive-throughs don't really work next to residents. The noise, the lights. So we didn't even attempt that at any point in this process. Next slide. So this was another big one. We originally put the eastern. We frankly didn't care too much about where the curb cut was. The east. It was to the east mostly for fire purposes because it allowed. It allowed the truck to get more fire coverage based on where it can go in and out of the property. Fire was willing to work with us after the last round to move that curb cut west. So where the red circle is where it was previously, now where it is in the middle is obviously where it is now. And so that creates more distance between the Arbor Manors Drive and where the curb cut currently is. So no connection to Arbor Manors. We actually can't even do that if we wanted to because we don't own that strip of grass between our property line and the drive. So we have the neighborhood will always have full control over that access point, and that won't be able to change. Next slide, please. The wall height. So this is one where we were willing to provide $25,000 to the HOA. Ultimately, the wall is on their property, and we don't. And so we thought it was more appropriate to provide funding instead of doing any of the work ourselves. Worth noting that we do have those 71 trees in the back. They'll take a few years to grow, so it's not going to be immediate. But that we felt the trees were a more appropriate solution than the expanding the wall. But we were able to provide $25,000 for that. Next slide. Tenant restrictions. So the previous design, we were limited to retail, restaurants, medical. There was just this was like a general concept of restricting on the types of businesses. So we've limited this to retail and medical, but I don't know how to do this, but there are, what the best way to do this, it might just be, you could just do use restrictions separately through a separate instrument on the project, but like we never leased to like smoke shops or tattoo place or things like that anyways, so like we're perfectly happy to restrict the negative uses. This is a expensive building, and they can't pay those rents anyway. So we will only really the higher end tenants can work here. Next slide. So this is just kind of like a recap. So the ones in blue are the ones where we felt we compromised. We were at 20. They were at 40 feet. We got compromised at 30 feet, or we're presenting one. 4, 5, 6, and 8 are the ones that we agreed to. The other ones we couldn't really do is we couldn't remove the second entrance. That was just a fire, like we just, per city ordinance, we can't do that. And then building footprint is the only financial one that we just couldn't, it just financially doesn't work. All the other ones, we either gave on them or we tried to at least get as close as possible to it. And yeah, we're happy to be flexible on some of these, like even like tenant restrictions, like, again, I don't know the best way to do that, but, so that was our attempt to address it. Some of these things we would have addressed for city council last time, but we weren't able to because we just didn't have enough time to do that. So once we restarted the process, we were able to adjust. And so the current proposal from like the very original concept plan in the PD, just to show some of the improvements. One of the questions we got last time was, which one's better, the original PD or this one? I think these are all the reasons I think it's much better than the original. You have the access to the western property, which the original didn't have. We flipped the building from being a long sandy lake and having all the cars by the residents to flipping it so that the building acts as a buffer for the cars. We have a 30-foot rear setback, which is, I think the original concept plan had like a 5-foot set, like a really tiny setback. The 71 trees installed at the rear boundary, 50-plus trees saved. There's no Arbor Manors Drive connection, no drive-through. The 25,000 to HOA for screening improvements. We're also going to have the HVAC units screened as well. I think that was a concept that came up last time. And so we again, we went through this process last time. I think City Council ended up being a 3-3 vote. And so I think we've tried to address as much of the residents' concerns. Obviously, the residents are still going to not want the project, which we appreciate and understand. But if there's any other concerns, I'm happy to address them. I was trying to be as comprehensive as possible, but
Sure.
if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for all the work you've done to the plan since the previous round of public hearings and trying to address all the comments, and so certainly appreciate that. I had 2 questions.
Yep.
One, what do you see as the hours of operation under the new retail medical use?
We haven't, most of our tenants are going to be call it like, I would say like 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. type uses, sorry, 7 p.m. uses. Yeah, not 23 hours, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. I would think like I think maybe like a nail salon might open a little early and go a little later. Like that might be the latest. You're not going to really have many the restaurants would be like the 10 p.m. users. I'm trying to think if there's anyone who needs to open like really early. I don't think so. I think most of them are going to be, and I think on the weekend we're actually going to, like, given the uses, we may not have as much because the restaurants tend to be the weekend uses as well. So I think we're going to have a lot more Monday to Friday daytime use tenants. I think that's the only thing that really makes sense for, and medical will be half the building, and so that falls in that category.
I was looking at the building elevations.
Mm-hmm.
In your HVAC is going to be on top of the building?
We haven't. So right now, because we've had all these changes, we've like paused the leasing conversations because we want to know what we're actually going to offer the tenants. Our plan is actually to see if we can get the tenants to put the HVAC on the ground between the wall and the building. We now have a 30-foot buffer. And so I think it actually is probably most appropriate to go there. I don't want to I don't know if there may be reasons why that can't happen in some cases, in which case they'd be on top and they'd be screened. But I think ideally they would actually go behind the property in that space between them. And then between the trees and the wall, that the noise shouldn't be an issue at all. But that's what I ideally would happen.
So, but if you change your mind, you put them on the roof.
Yep.
Is there a parapet wall on the back side? Would you install one to kind of hide all that?
Yeah, we would.
Okay.
So yeah, the last item on that list was that there'd be. It may not be a parapet wall. It's probably more of a screen. But yeah, the plan would be to screen it, or at least that we've proposed screening it, and we'd work with the staff to come up with like what does screening mean in Coppell. But yeah, there are multiple options, but you won't see HVAC units is kind of the point.
Okay, thank you. Any questions by the commission to the applicant? Cindy, no? Okay, we may call you back.
Please do. Yeah, thank you guys.
Very good. Thank you very much. So we're going to go to the public hearing, and as part of the public hearing, individuals are required to speak 3 minutes. I understand there's a presentation that's being prepared, and someone's going to be presenting it here. Okay, very good. And then if you can use proper decorum as part of the presentation. I get it. We're passionate about our community. So yeah. Okay. Very good. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just go down the list here. I see Monica Panda signed first. And forgive me for some of the, I'll try to say them.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Debashish? All right, I'll go with that one. Okay, so he'll be, and then followed by Vishy Subramanian?
We'll go with Vishy, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, and if I could get your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Monica Panda, 114 Arbor Manors Drive. Thank you for letting me speak, Commissioners. I appreciate your time. So this is not our first time here, right? We've been through this. My biggest take back today, when I was hearing about the traffic study, I thought we were talking about 2 different locations. I live at the corner of Arbor Manors Drive. I am the first house as you enter. I'm the first house on the left, right next to McDonald's and all this fun commercial businesses. If I go out in my patio in the evening, I see one car come in every few minutes that takes a turn right at our entrance. That is the cut through. There's people cutting through all the time. So I'm really flabbergasted with the findings of the study. I feel like we have not done our due diligence. We would like to see the traffic study. We would like to see how it was done, when it was done, the duration, what was covered. I think our presentation has pictures from 5 p.m. My biggest concern is the traffic. I've been living next to businesses for the last 12 years. There's a whole bunch of other nuisance. We're not even going there. But the traffic, for us to get out of Arbor Manors Drive at 5 p.m. on a weekday when the school's in, it's at least 10, 15 minutes. And if somebody lets us go, otherwise you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. When this is turning left is a whole new story. And the entrance is 200 feet, the exit, sorry, the second exit is just 200 feet west, which means that it'll choke it up further. We're in Coppell. We are here because we are a family community. We want to stay here. Our kids have grown and graduated. We are still here because of this being the community that it is. So we're essentially a residential community. We welcome commercial properties. Some of us are business owners. We get that. We are reasonable people. We're not saying no, no way, but we want it to be where we know that the city has done its due diligence and you are prioritizing your citizens. We welcome the commercial properties. They work with us, but the traffic study, I think, and as Rishi will share his presentation, the text dot numbers somehow don't match, which should not be the case. But I am telling you, I live there, and every 5 minutes there's a car either cutting through. One of the city council meetings, Mr. Neville's also mentioned, he also cuts through sometimes. So I'm just flabbergasted by the findings, first of all. So I would like to revisit that. I would request you guys to revisit that. We do our due diligence. We make sure that we prioritize our citizens. The second thing that also comes with commercial properties is I have lived that experience for the last 12 years. McDonald's 24 hours, yay for everybody, not for me, because the construction was a nightmare. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I had to call an emergency number multiple times. Again, maybe this is not under your purview, but something to keep in mind whenever there's a new construction, they almost never follow the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. rule, no weekends. Sometimes, I have called at least 4 times, so has my neighbor maybe 5 times. Sometimes we haven't even called because we're like so fed up, right? I want you all to consider all these things before we say yes to anything. Because when we came in, that was already there. But this is being built, we've already been here for a certain amount of time. Ma'am, your time is up.
And so I would like you to consider that. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Panda, so Devashish, then followed by Vishy, followed by Alin.
Hi, I'm Devashish Mukherjee, 148 Amberwood Drive in Coppell, in the Arbor Manors neighborhood. The big concern that we have is traffic. I'm going to reiterate this. That the other thing that Monica didn't bring up is not only is the traffic pretty intense, and the cut through that happens, that intersection has had at least 3 or 4 serious accidents. So I don't know why it's not reported, because I at least have one member here of our neighborhood whose son's car got completely totaled. I have another friend who's my neighbor. His daughter's car got completely totaled. And I think we're just getting to the point where we're going to start seeing more and more serious accidents. Like today, when we were coming here, we already had a backup. There is no school open yet, but at 4 or 5 in the evening, that entrance to Arbor Manors is completely choked. And so there is tremendous amount of cut through. We noticed it this weekend. We were going from home to home trying to see if people need any help to complete the survey. And we saw people just constantly turning into a neighborhood, trying to circumvent the U-turn, the illegal U-turn that they have in front of our neighborhood. So having a big 14,000 square foot commercial development is only going to make matters worse. It doesn't matter what kind of businesses there are, you're going to have some increase in traffic. And so, our earnest plea is, to please consider what we've been trying to bring up and address these issues somehow. Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Vishy, followed by Alin, followed by Nilesh.
Yeah. Hi, can you please bring up that PowerPoint? My name is Vishy Subramaniam. I live at 126 Wild Plum Drive. My house is right behind the development. That is, this is my wife. She would also like to talk or add some stuff to what I'm going to say. Let's go to the slide number 3, please. Next one. There were 6 deal breakers for us when we presented to the city council. I'm sorry. There were 6 major items that we presented to the city council. The first one is the traffic impact analysis. I don't want to repeat what Monica and others already said, so it's already done. We don't agree with it. Why do I say I don't agree with it? Is because the data that I will show you next will prove that. In terms of the reducing the footprint of the building, there is no change from the prior denial. No restaurants and patios. This is one which Tyler has agreed to. But our question to you is, how will this be enforced? Today it is Tyler. He says, I don't plan to rent to restaurants and stuff. As we move forward, well, how is this going to be enforced? Okay, we would really like to understand that. We had also requested a signalized access to the west of the PD development. And we had done our analysis, and we know it is about 950 feet from the Whispering Hills Drive as traffic light. But, it's so close, 1,000 is the limit, I guess. So 950, it's so close, we requested for a study to be done. Now, as part of the study that the city person mentioned before, he failed to mention that the study was not done on the Arbor Manors and Sandy Lake intersection. The study was done only on the other side of the property, of the entrance. It was not done on this side, according to the report that Ms. Powell read a few minutes back. Boswell, I'm sorry. Apologize. Also, the height of the wall, we really wanted it, but there's no change here now. The setback, there are 2 points that Tyler mentioned. One was, we said increase the setback. He has given us a slight bit of increase from 20 to 30 feet. The second one was move the building to the front of the development, which was what the original PD asked for or called for. Said put it in the front, do not put it in the back. The idea was, I think, I wasn't here at that time. The idea, I think, was to have the building in the front so that it's far away, as far away as possible from the property, the landowners. Next slide. Let's go to the next one, please. Yeah, this one is from Texas DOT CRIS system. I do not understand how they said that this is not, it is very safe to turn there, because according to this.
Sir, your time is up.
Yeah. But anyway, let me close it.
Yeah, if you could just wrap up.
Yeah, let me wrap up. According to this, you can see that the two sides, it's already marked red. And there was a death at the Whispering Hills Drive. And also the other thing is, there was a recent death in outside Taco Bell on Denton Tap. So how can they say there is no deaths? Thank you.
Thank you. Alin? Oh, you want to switch? Okay, that's fine. Nilesh?
Nilesh is online.
Oh.
I'm on a Zoom call if I get my time.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I'm over the Zoom call.
Yes? Okay, you're up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Mr. Commissioner and the PNZ team. My first thing is the PNZ should be absolutely disapproved. Okay, no matter how much Ms. Boswell have talked about championing the developers' steps here, they make no sense because the last PD was cancelled. We requested for the old PD. We don't want this project at all. It doesn't make sense when there are so many retail spaces vacant available. The city's interest, and especially the PNC's interest, should be looking out for bringing businesses to help residents and not help business to work residents with them. So that's one thing being said. This developer has no interest in the well-being of our community members. He is chugging along just to check the water with hundreds of planning the parking spots getting approved from all of you committee members. That is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, it's a 2-acre parcel which is absolutely like an armpit in the junction of Sandy Lake and Denton Tap. I would request all of you to consider the best interest of the residents' daily life. And this footprint needs to be brought down to 50%, and the building needs to be set towards the front, northwest, next to the Verizon, across from Andy's and State Farm Insurance Agency. This developer is not doing any favor. He's not the landowner. He's trying to build a business on top of the landowner who is somebody else. So there is no reason to have sympathy with this developer because he's moving 10 feet along. This is not American football to get 40 yards. Okay, this is our life. We live here. You're setting this building for our failure, our children's lives. So you need to look at this from the biggest empathy and sympathy for the residents first and not for this developer. His revenue is not going to be the one which is going to bring the vibes for city's success.
Sir, you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute.
Okay, let me finish, then you tell me 3 minutes over. You're interrupting me, ma'am. Please hold on. Okay, so this needs to be cut through. This project needs to be completely squashed, and we don't need any businesses in any sense. Okay, we need city planning, zoning, and city council members to please understand we are not against city's progress, but this location is in absolute wrong position. And blessing this developer to bring 14,000 square foot of retail space, I will say as a resident and the best wisher, you are doing mistake. This needs to be completely rejected, and this planning needs to be set back to at the most 7,000 square foot across from Andy's to the northwest with the signal access. And then if you look at it, the center exit at the property line right now, you know, they gave hard time last time when we did it. Now they are saying it's possible.
Sir,
all
your
these
time
things
is
are,
up.
you know.
If you could wrap up, please.
Okay, please reject this proposal, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much there. Okay. Are you Alin? You're Alin. Okay, you're going to yield your time to her.
No, there's Atin, she's Atin's wife. There's Shanti, and she's going to speak before her. She wants to go last. She has a mask on.
Okay.
She wants to leave after that. Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. If I get your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah. I'm Shanti Subramaniam, and I'm at 126 Wild Plum Drive, which is right behind this proposed development. And I can tell from our own experiences in the neighborhood, there is a traffic issue. I don't know when they did the study, but I can tell you that even last time when we spoke with the previous item, that there was so much traffic you can't even see to the back. And having a new development of that size is going to be really bad for the community. It's really not good for Coppell. We are talking about bringing down so many trees. We're talking about affecting safety of the residents. And there is no business need. There's so many empty commercial spaces, as was discussed. The traffic is projected to increase by over 40%. And currently it's 17,000 vehicles per day. And this is exactly the basis on which that property was advertised when the buyer bought it. That is a significant amount of traffic, and to have that and then have that further increased is not good for our community and safety for our residents, our children, and everybody who's there, especially making left turns. If we don't want this development, if we have to have it, it has to be under very safe conditions to add a traffic light, because that slows down the traffic that's coming, allowing people to make left turns into the neighborhood and to come out of the neighborhood safely. Otherwise, we are struggling with the increased traffic. Please don't do this to us.
You still have one minute.
There are pictures and there's something.
There are some pictures there. Can you please go through that? Yeah, further down. Go. Yeah, this is
Okay.
a picture. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the traffic on Sandy Lake around 5 p.m. eastbound. And this is the issue. Nobody even clears the junction for us. People make U-turns, and we're trying to turn left or right, and there's these U-turns that are being done. I know there's signs posted, but this creates a further safety issue. By adding more traffic, this is only going to worsen. It's not going to make lives better. And that is, so if we don't want to have a wall, we don't want to have restaurants, we don't want to have this kind of view, we don't want to have rodents, we don't want to have these smells. And again, as Vishy brought up, what clauses can you give us that would make sure, if something were to even come, that we don't have restaurants? Because just a verbal, it doesn't work, because he can mean it, he can lease it to someone, he can sell it to someone, and we need it in writing. That is part of the zoning if it has to happen at all. We really don't want such a development. If it has to be small, and we have to have it as far as possible from our neighborhood, because we don't want the noise, we don't want anything that comes with it, smells, the rodents that will come as a part of business, and garbage and all of that. As Monica brought up, garbage, although it's supposed to be taken at a certain time, it's not, they don't respect that. They come earlier, they disturb people, and we don't want that. We all work very hard to make the money that we make to pay for these properties and the taxes. And we sometimes work late hours, and we don't want to have this disturb our lives.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We had another person that signed up, Prakash?
Yeah. I'm Prakash Arumugam from 100 Shedidale Lane. Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to talk about that. I'm not totally opposing this, but right now I'm just opposing the project because of the main concern is traffic only. Because I live in the Shedidale Lane. If you see that is a walk through that lane. The people wants to get the left turn of the, towards the Denton Tap. They have to come through all the way to Shedidale. They have to, wait on that, and they have to cut through the left lane. So the traffic always be more in the morning and the evening. It's always there be a traffic. And I want to bring attention like there is going to be a high-tech school going to be joined in the Coppell High School. So the high-tech is going to be moved to 2026-27 calendar here. So
I'm sorry, say it again.
There is a high-tech school. There is a high-tech school. That secondary that new tech. Sorry, there's a new tech high school is going to be joined in our Coppell High School.
Okay.
So from
at
the
high school site.
Yes, sir. So it's going to be joining our high school, Coppell High School. So it's going to be again more traffic also in that, That is the one concern. Another one is that McDonald's is going to be 24 hours. So that's also going to be more traffic. And also already the business is, our Trader Joe's and everyone so on is busy. Already we are seeing so many traffic. So I just really want to consider this. We are not totally opposing. You guys can consider the traffic and the safety of our citizens. And also a lot of school kids all morning and evening they're bicycling and everyone. That's a main concern for me, That's all I can say about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have anybody else here to speak. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak before I turn it over to the last person? Yes, sir, in green. And I don't see you're signed up, but if I
No, I haven't actually. I came late. Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry.
Your address and then
Okay.
your name.
Priyadarshan Biswal, 139 West Brave Drive, Coppell, Texas.
Okay.
Okay. So I think this is the second time we are here. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to talk to you again. So I think everybody was telling the same traffic issues. Taking a left turn from our subdivision, it's a nightmare, to be honest with you. When we were driving to our kids to school, somebody will be looking at left, somebody will be looking at the right. But I have twins like boy and girl, so they used to look at left, right, then I used to drive in the front. It's a really nightmare to take a turn. Other thing is like our subdivision, we have like 65, 70 houses, right? And other subdivision, the Wind Page, which is our neighboring subdivision, they also use our entrance, like Arbor Manor and Sandy Lake entrance. They also have the same issues, right? So I would request at least do a proper study. Somebody did said that they did a study and there was no accident, no death. So that's completely false. We have Sony the record, and we have also experienced that our neighborhood people, right, whoever is like staying in that neighborhood, there's 2 cars got total in last 1 year. So it's completely like I would request to do a further analysis and study on the traffic. That's my request. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else who'd like to speak on the case for or against? Okay, ma'am.
Thank you for letting me switch with my husband. I had put his name on the list, Atin Kulkarni. I'm his wife at 122 Wild Plum Drive, Vishi's neighbors, Vishi and Shanti, so we are directly impacted by this new development. I'll bring back the traffic study. I just want to, I don't mind.
Okay.
I'll bring back this traffic study point, and we were very surprised to see our development even on the agenda before they completed the traffic study as we had requested, and schools don't start until 11th of August. And it's no point in telling us that the other entrance traffic is okay when the development is at this entrance of Arbor Manor. It just didn't make sense to us to even see it being mentioned, but she did mention that this side traffic study is still pending. Shanti brought up a good point. We pay higher taxes to be in Coppell school districts. What's the point if we don't feel safe enough for our kids to walk to Coppell High School? Just because it's not safe to go that route anymore, because there is a no U-turn. We have enough number of people turning and making U-turns in our community, in front of Monica's house, in front of my house. There are stop signs which people never see. So you can imagine what the turn speed is, because everybody wants to catch the next green signal at the intersection. That's one point that you have to consider. Second point is, the developer was good enough to say that there would not be restaurants. There was no restaurant before Little Caesars came. There was a nail spa. It didn't make any business. So he sold it to Little Caesars right behind Monica's house. How did that help her? So please consider these points when you are thinking of even approving this huge development, or minimize the size of the development so that it's not attractive to any restaurants. If you make the size of the building small enough to be not attractive to restaurants, you can at least help address that piece. We work hard, very hard, to pay Coppell taxes, and do not deter new tenants or new residents from buying properties in Coppell by putting such an example of putting commercial over residential. It's always been a residential-friendly city. We've lived here, we love it, and we would continue to say that, and please help us continue to say that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on the proposed application, either for or against? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Mary, is the traffic study, is that been made available up on the website?
No, they're finalizing it right now.
Okay. And if I could have Mr. Baker back at the podium, please.
Can we have a motion on closing the public hearing?
It's just staff comment.
Oh.
It's a question of staff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could reiterate the performance of the TIA, when it was done, because I've heard, we saw some pictures of queued traffic through the intersection, but this TIA was done before school was out.
The trip volumes were measured before school was out, yes. The actual study itself was just recently completed, actually since the staff report was written. So that's the reason for the language within the staff report. It was done in 2 phases. The initial phase was completed a couple of weeks ago, and then the staff report was written early last week, and so the study itself they sent us the final draft after that staff report was published.
And has the engineer called to support the presentation or the development of that TIA to staff, or has it just been submitted and that's it? Has the consultant?
Yes.
Has he followed up? Have you all had a meeting with him?
Yes, we've spoken with him and we've gone through some of our comments. There's minor revisions that are being done before it is finally submitted for the final record.
Are any of those potential changes?
Nothing
revisions
substantial.
that might affect the analysis per se?
No, the analysis is finalized. All of the just minor typos and just clarifications of.
Okay. And then I saw an image of the CRIS data. So it's kind of one that has a fatality, and you all looked up the data and you found no fatalities.
So yes, I looked back at it. The CRIS data is showing there were 10 accidents within the past 5 years at the intersection by this development, Arbor Manors Drive and Sandy Lake Road. The CRIS data is not showing fatalities for that. The PowerPoint presentation the residents had submitted to us, they did include references to where those fatalities were, and there was the one over by Fitness Court that we were discussing earlier, and then there was another one much further west on Sandy Lake Road. So not within the vicinity of this project or our study that we just recently completed. So.
Okay, and I could hardly read the image there, but no fatalities.
Correct.
But there could be serious accidents, which is different from fatalities.
So the CRIS data that our consultant found and submitted to us doesn't show serious injuries. It shows minor injuries, suspected injuries, or no injuries. So.
Okay. Okay. And there was a comment about Sandy Lake and Arbor Manors, that intersection not being evaluated.
That was the phase 2 of the project that's
been completed.
In the staff report, we wanted to make it clear that at time of writing, the conclusions weren't finalized, but that it would be coming.
Okay. And then, I guess, Mary, would the subject to the response by the Planning and Zoning Commission, or if however it goes to the council, will the applicant's engineer be a part of that presentation to the council?
You're saying the actual engineer?
Yes.
We haven't discussed that. We haven't gotten that
Okay.
far.
Was that part of the scope for him to present the analysis to council, or part of a public hearing?
I think that we would at least have the results and that it would be presented. I'm not sure if staff would do that presentation or the
Gotcha.
engineer.
Okay. Kent, are there any other questions of staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cole, one of the folks making a presentation here talked about cut-through, and my initial understanding of cut-through was that they were coming through the development and exiting out on Denton Tap somewhere towards the, I guess it would be the northern end of the development. But my impression from what people are saying here, when they say cut-through, is that they're making a right-hand turn into that street, doing that loop-de-doo around the homes that are right there at the intersection and coming back. Was that part of the study?
So you're referring to people turning into Arbor Manors Drive and then exiting back the same way they came?
So
Is that-
there's, when you look at the site plan, you go to Arbor Manor Drive, and you can make almost an immediate right-hand turn into a loop that comes back to Arbor Manor Drive. Am I saying that correctly, or seeing that correctly?
Yeah, it's there. There's a cul-de-sac there.
Yeah, it's a little cul-de-sac that.
Yeah,
is that
over there off
considered?
to the right side, is that what you're discussing? So off the top of my head, I don't have the answer to that. We can ask our consultant to clarify that.
Can you
in the
bring
final
up
report.
Google Maps on your plan?
It's by my house.
So, okay, time out. So the public hearing is closed, and so we're directing questions to staff. Thank you.
We can ask our consultant about that
Yeah.
and have them clarify that in
See
the
it right there,
report.
Cole, that little area that I'm referring to?
Yes, yeah, with the HOA lot in the middle.
Right, so you
Yes.
don't know for sure if that was considered as part of the so-called cut-through that the
Off
folks
the
have-
top of my head, I do not. They do have traffic volumes, so they have volumes of traffic turning into the neighborhood, traffic turning out of the neighborhood, so they can look at those numbers. And I can also ask them if they did
think
do a
that'd
field
be a-
visit to observe the traffic patterns and so.
Would be a worthy consideration.
Yeah.
But if they're doing the counts, they would capture those.
Yeah, so they would capture the traffic turning into the
Yeah.
neighborhood, and they would so they would basically be double counting those cars if they were turning in and then turning out. So we'll ask them to look at those numbers and just clarify.
Cole, in terms of the, you talked a little bit about the traffic light, that it didn't warrant a traffic light coming out. Could you talk more about that?
Yes, so the manual on traffic control devices, it has a number of warrants that you have to meet at least one warrant to warrant the installation of a traffic signal. That's because a lot of times the manual on uniform traffic control devices has guidance that a lot of times people will just want to put up a traffic signal for any sort of traffic problem, but that can actually end up causing more harm than good depending on the situation. And so that's what the warrants are designed to do, is to provide an engineering standard, to do a study, to evaluate whether a signal is warranted, make sure it's providing benefit while also reducing the amount of delay that it is doing to the overall traveling public. So.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So they looked at all those warrants for this, and it didn't meet any of the warrants.
Yeah, there's 14 warrants, and you have to meet a certain amount of
Yeah,
warrants.
there's a number of warrants, depending on the ratios of traffic from the side streets to the main streets. There's ones for pedestrian crossings or accidents, or it really covers a wide variety.
And when they did the traffic counts, there was someone present to observe pedestrian crossings if any occurred?
Yeah, they did submit pedestrian crossing data with the.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Kent?
I didn't hear you correctly. I got a bad hearing in this ear. When you said the types of accidents that are actually counted, what is that? You were saying that.
Oh, I was clarifying if the CRIS data that was shown, if it was fatalities or a serious accident. And so I wanted to make sure I understood if there was fatalities. There are no fatalities, according to the CRIS data, that staff has received. But that doesn't mean there's not serious accidents. But staff confirmed that there were no serious accidents, right?
Yes, no serious injuries.
No serious injuries, sorry.
Minor injuries or possible injuries, but none of the categorization of serious injuries.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
And then I guess the second and final question
Sure.
is the traffic engineer who performed the study. He's a certified traffic engineer.
Yes.
PE.
Yes.
Okay. And then is one of the warrants, could it be if you don't meet the full 7 or 8 or 14 warrants, or whatever the MUTCD requires, can the city engineer, based on his interpretation, provide another layer of, we believe that we should signalize it on top of the MUTCD? In other words, it doesn't meet the MUTCD requirements, but from the traffic engineer's perspective, safe routes to schools, conditions, et cetera, that the city engineer could say, I think we ought to still signalize this, or does it need to meet the warrants?
The MUTCD says that it has to meet an engineering study, and it lays out warrants.
Yeah, and the MUTCD now incorporates safe routes to school or the Vision Zero?
I know there's the school routes.
Safe routes
warrant.
to schools?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Any other questions of staff? Okay, thank you, Cole.
Thank you.
Any questions of Mary regarding the application overall? Okay. Discussion by the commission.
Mr. Chairman,
It's off now. Yes.
Okay.
So you can, I can't hear you through the system.
Okay, got it. You know, I empathize with the existing residents there. I support this project. I think the developer has done a good job of mitigating as best as one could, given the circumstance. And particularly in light of the fact that this project was previously approved many years ago, and with a site plan that's really not nearly as good as this site plan is. I think the mitigation measures that he has proposed are very good. He may be able to continue to, find further concessions within that, but I think that that's a discussion between him and the neighbors. I would like to know if there is a way that we can permanently exclude restaurants from the approval. So, and I don't know the answer to that question. Thank you.
So I'll redirect to the city attorney or Mary.
Yeah, as the ordinance is proposed and the ordinance stands now, they're not allowed on this property. That's what his first zoning application was, to allow restaurants. That's been denied. So this application, there is no land use that allows that use. They cannot get a CO. He could not get a building permit to put in a kitchen unless he came back before us and filed a new application to allow that use.
And that would trigger the process.
And that would trigger the process, renotice, et cetera, and for them to comment, the citizens to comment whether they supported that or not.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Kent. Any other thoughts by the commission?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Cindy?
Yes, I appreciate all the comments of the neighbors, and the pictures of the traffic were very helpful. But in my opinion, the nature of the businesses that are going to go in there, the traffic to me would be like a car here and a car there. There's not a lot of cars showing up at the same time. Someone goes in for a doctor's appointment or to get their nails done or something. So I don't see a lot of heavy traffic in and out of that development. Excuse me. And I really appreciate what the developer has done. He's tried to accommodate a lot of the residents' concerns. So, like my fellow chairperson said there, I also support the project.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Ed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So there's no question that there is a lot of traffic in that area. I think we've all probably personally seen that and going in and out. And I think the reality is the residential neighborhood has relatively few ingress and egress points that are at, unfortunately, non-signalized intersections. And so I can see how that would back up the traffic. So I've been empathize, certainly with that. When it comes to, the property is zoned commercial, and so it has been zoned commercial. So there can be a commercial property on it, and the developer has, it looks like he's tried to, work with the community to find, suitable solutions. And so I think, the option here is that the option of stopping the development and having nothing be developed here really isn't an option unless the city's going to buy the property. And so the property owner has rights and to develop the property in accordance with what the city says. It is, not to redesign, it is interesting in terms of I was particularly looking at the ingress and egress points. It may have actually helped to have an ingress point off of Arbor Manor, because it would give if the cross access was allowed, it would give the residents a further west curb cut to turn left versus in front of the Sprouts. But I know that's not proposed as part of the application, so I'm not, certainly not proposing that or to design from this standpoint. So, I always appreciate the community coming out and expressing what they're seeing and feeling and so forth, because I think there's a lot of times we just, we're looking at it we drive there, we look at it from a map standpoint, we don't always have all of the real input. So I think this is very helpful to have all of that. But yeah, I think at a certain point, I think it really comes down to how do we mitigate some of the impact, and I think the actions taken so far seem pretty reasonable.
Okay. Thank you much. John?
Yeah, my feeling here is I kind of look like it feels like for sure absolute denial is not an option. And what I kind of see in front of me is I see a fairly significant compromise, whereas the developer could always go back to the original approval, which is significantly more detrimental to the neighborhood, to the overall appeal. So in my head, I'm kind of choosing between those two because absolute denial is not an option here. They can always go back to what was originally approved and start right away. So I kind of feel like despite it not being favorable to everybody, it certainly is a better option than the fallback plan. That's kind of where my head is.
Any thoughts there, Sue? No? Okay. I will add, quality of life is incredibly important in my thought process to any development within Coppell. And, over the years, we've seen some really good development. We've seen some development subject to background traffic, and that's what's flat out happening here. There's background traffic as a result of just peak hour traffic that's affecting this site. The traffic analysis as presented by a reputable firm, is showing that doesn't meet warrant for a signal, and so it's simply just during the peak hour. And that's a great comment, John, about previous zoning allowances could create a worse situation. So I'm weighing those in my mind, but I do believe that this applicant has done a lot to present a development proposal that meets a lot of comments that you all had as a community. I appreciate your input. It's very important. But at the same time, denial is not an option because they meet the requirements. I do want to remind you, when that whole application came through, there were a lot more trees taken out to those homes that are current where y'all live. So, you know, they have their development rights too, and I believe that this applicant's done quite a bit to landscape, to mitigate, you know, to do everything possible, as well as your considerations. So for me, it makes it easier for me to consider this application as presented. The final thing is that the trip generation that is being used in the analysis is a higher level of commercial. Smaller square footage generates higher traffic on a square foot basis. So there's some conservative estimates in that trip generation. Then you got medical office, which is a high generator in itself. That's over and above retail. So I feel like there's some level of conservative number crunch put into this, into the analysis. But I would hope that the applicant brings the traffic engineer, or he's available to talk at council whether this goes up or down from this commission tonight. Yes, sir.
You know, we've all been to Trader Joe's, or at least I have multiple times with my wife, and Trader Joe's, that one operation created so much traffic in our community. And I wondered when these trip generation numbers were actually taken, if they were pre-Trader Joe's or post-Trader Joe's or whatever.
The traffic counts were during school. Trip generation is a function of data compiled and published data of traffic activity by land use type. So when the traffic engineer looks at impact of site, they take that in, there's a category in there for traffic for that type of land use. So it's considered there. So I feel comfortable with that. Now, the pictures blow me away about that, the queuing. I got to believe something else is going on in that queuing, but don't know. Can't, you know, so. Anyway, with that, is there a motion by the commission?
I move to approve the project PD 214R11-C, the shops at Sandy Lake, a zoning change request from PD 214R2-C to PD-24R11-C to allow for the detailed plan development of a 14,480 square foot commercial center with retail and medical uses on approximately 2.3 acres, subject to staff conditions.
Okay, thank you, Kent. We have a motion by Commissioner Hafen. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Marr. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Dobmeyer.
Aye.
Vice Chair Blankenship.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Haithman.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Thank you for coming out this evening. I would encourage you to go to the council meeting and present your thoughts again. Item 8 on the agenda is a public hearing to consider approval of the Shops at Sandy Lake Edition Lot 1 Block A replat, a replat to revise the current plat and associated easements and fire lane configuration on 2.03 acres of property located at the south side of Sandy Lake Road, approximately 560 feet west of Denton Tap Road, at the request of Peak Coppell LLC, being represented by Spooner and Associates. We have a staff presentation by Ms. Mary Perone Boswell. Mary?
So this plat request is a companion item to the last item, Lot 1, Block A, Shops at Sandy Lake Plan Development. The plat will take the existing lot, replat it to include mutual access, fire lane, and then any necessary utility easements for the development of the 14,480 square foot commercial building. So staff is recommending approval of the Shops at Sandy Lakes Edition, Lot 1, Block A, replat, subject to the following conditions. One, that additional comments may be generated upon detailed engineering permit reviews. That is the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Any questions of staff by the commission? Okay, is there anything the applicant would like to add to the presentation? All right. You're here, we'll make you work. Okay.
This is less relevant to this one, but just wanted to mention after the last presentation, we offered at City Council that if there was a traffic light that, for some reason, traffic counts were different and there was a reason for a traffic light, that we'd be happy to contribute $100,000 to that traffic light. I think it's a weird thing because traffic is what the residents say, but it's also why retail wants to be there. But that is something that we proposed at City Council. I should have mentioned that today, but thought it was relevant. Not really relevant to this, but that is my only chance to speak.
But,
yeah.
but that offer is still up.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
would gladly contribute $100,000 to a traffic light. But it's not on the agenda. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for that consideration there. Okay, is there any questions of the applicant by the commission? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final discussion by the commission?
Mr. Commissioner, this is one of the residents again. Am I allowed to talk now?
Hang on a second. I totally forgot that you were up there. Yeah, I can make a motion to open it. Yeah, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion by Commissioner Haas, second by Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, could you call the roll to open the public hearing or reopen the public hearing?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Dobmeyer.
Aye.
Vice Chair Blankenship.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Haveman.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed. Motion.
Okay, if we could get your name and address for the record, please.
Nilesh Pagare, 140 Juniper Drive.
Okay. And your
So I appreciate the considerations from everyone to hear us. The major disappointment here today, from my point of view, and your acceptance of their data without considering the data presented by the community is very shocking. So I recommend and request all members of this PNG team to approve this decision conditionally by reviewing this data at the closest before it goes to City Council. Second thing is City Council membership meeting should be scheduled after school opens because the data needs to be studied when the school is at the peak. When we pick these pictures, these are the pictures taken at different hours and the peak times. And as we said, from all of us, we are not exactly opposing the shops, but the discomfort, which is already caused by PNC's decisions for the shops on the other sides of our community, has already put a lot of homeowners at discomfort. So when you're approving this planning by this developer, by choosing between this design versus old design, old design would still put them at ease because we don't want to face the wall. If you look at those pictures closely from the presentation, right? The Arbor Manor Drive was a conceptual. That doesn't mean the old PD needs to have access on Arbor Manor Drive. The footprint on this 2-acre parcel lot is 15,000 square foot is a lot. I think the team here
Sir,
is
you have 1 minute
overlooking
left.
the impact of that. Okay, so I think your approval is very one-sided. I feel all of you have overlooked the considerations of traffic studies and data point what we have provided, and that's going to be a major bone of contention. I appreciate the gesture of the developer to contribute towards signal construction of signal, which we need to have to throttle the traffic that coming from Whispering Hill light up to the Denton Tap light. So when you approve this, Chairman, Commissioner, I would request you to put those comments for consideration. That will be a big gesture towards our safety. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak for or against the proposed application? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final discussion. I will add that this is we're considering the plat. We're not considering the application per se, but I do appreciate the applicant talking about contributing mitigation monies toward that intersection. And, you know, the traffic analysis should be presented as part of the public hearing. So,
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate to ask staff to mention the comments of the $100,000 in their next staff report?
It'll be in the record.
it'll be in the record? Okay. Does that, okay. Okay, is there a motion for the item 8 on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve Shops at Sandy Lake, addition, Lot 1, Block A, replat.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dobmeyer. Is there? oops,
Clarification,
sorry.
subject to the conditions?
Subject to staff terms and conditions.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Dobmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please do so by saying aye or ayes. I call your name. Commissioner Dobbmeyer.
Aye.
Vice Chair Blankenship.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Hafman.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
before we end the meeting, I believe Cammie has
Yeah,
something she needs
I
to
was
share.
going to catch her here under the item 9. So item 9 on the agenda is the update to city council items. We did review those items in pre-session, but we do have a comment by Cammie McGee. Cammie, if you could add the comment for the record there?
Yeah, it was just that the application period for boards and commissions will be opening August 3rd and closing on September 4th this year. And I believe Commissioner Bishop and Commissioner Hafman might be due for reapplication if they would like to. But city secretary will be emailing information out. Just
It
want
would
to
be,
let you know.
it seemed like it would be 3. It's 4, then 3.
Is there some,
Yeah.
but I also think we lost one and someone came in
that's,
and,
Mr. Patel.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I don't, the city secretary. August 3rd through September 4th, which is a little earlier this year than usual.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Cammie. Mary, any other staff comments? Okay, item 10 is adjournment. If there's no other final thoughts on tonight's proceedings, I will adjourn the meeting. The time is 8:07.